બહેનોમાં વધુ થાય છે અને ભાઈઓમાં ઓછું થાય છે, પણ ભાઈઓમાં પણ થાય છે. તો આપ સૌને નમ્ર વિનંતી છે કે પહેલા આવીને જગ્યા ના રોકવી અને કાર્ડ સિસ્ટમ જે આપણે કરી છે એનું યોગ્ય પાલન કરવું. પ્લીઝ થોડોક સહકાર મળશે તો બધા લોકો સત્સંગ શાંતિથી અને સારી રીતે માણી શકશે. આજે આગળ બેસવાનો વારો ઓરેન્જ રંગના પાસ ધરાવતા મહાત્માઓનો છે અને તેમજ તેની પાછળ સ્કાય બ્લુ રંગના પાસ ધરાવતા મહાત્માઓ બેસી શકશે. પીરસવાની સેવાનો વારો ભરૂચ, સુરત અને વલસાડના મહાત્માઓનો છે. તો 80 ભાઈઓ અને 100 બહેનો સામાયિક વિધિ પછી તરત ભોજનશાળા પહોંચી જાય. ભોજનશાળા તરફથી એવી માહિતી આવી છે કે પૂરતા લોકો પહોંચી શકતા નથી, માટે જેમનો જે સેક્ટરનો વારો હોય તે પ્લીઝ ત્યાં ટાઈમસર પહોંચી જાય. આપણે 8 દિવસમાં એક દિવસ સેવા કરવાની હોય છે, તો જો ત્યાં લાભ આપી શકો તો ઉત્તમ રહેશે. Those Mahatmas who do not understand Gujarati can tune into radio frequency 88 for English translation of this satsang. If they don't have radio facility in their mobile phone, then they can collect radio sets from English translation desk, which is near LED screen in Gen section. यह सत्संग का हिंदी अनुवाद आप रेडियो की फ्रीक्वेंसी 100 पर सुन सकते हैं. यदि आपके पास मोबाइल में रेडियो की सुविधा ना हो तो आप भाइयों की ओर की एलईडी स्क्रीन के पास से रेडियो लेकर आगे की ओर बैठ सकते हैं जहां अनुवाद हो रहा है. આ સત્સંગનું ગુજરાતીમાં જે એક્ચ્યુઅલ ટ્રાન્સમિશન થાય છે એ રેડિયો ફ્રીક્વન્સી 107 પર થાય છે. એટલે જો આપને અવાજ ઓછો આવતો હોય અથવા ડિસ્ટર્બન્સ આવતું હોય તો આપ આપના મોબાઈલમાં રેડિયો હોય તો 107માં ટ્યુન કરો તો તમને આ સત્સંગનો ક્લિયર અવાજ સંભળાશે. 107મી જે જન્મ જયંતિ છે ગાંધીનગરમાં યોજાનારી છે, તો તેની માટે જે મહાત્માઓને ભેટ ઉતારા જોઈતા હોય તો તેમણે પારાયણ પછી પોતાના સેન્ટર કોઓર્ડિનેટરનો સંપર્ક કરવો અને સિમંદર સિટી તેમજ એટીપીએલના મહાત્માઓ આની માટે 1 સપ્ટેમ્બર પછી સમીરભાઈ પરીખનો સંપર્ક સાધે. ખાસ આ સત્સંગ અને સામાયિક દરમિયાન દરેક મહાત્માઓને વિનંતી છે કે અવાજ ના કરે. અવાજથી ખલેલ થાય છે અને ડિસ્ટર્બન્સ પહોંચે છે આજુબાજુવાળા મહાત્માઓને. જો આપને વાત કરવાનું થાય અથવા ફોન પર વાત કરવાની થાય તો હોલની બહાર જઈને વાત કરી શકશો. જય સચ્ચિદાનંદ. જે પણ માહિતી કેન્દ્રમાં ઘણી બધી ખોવાયેલી વસ્તુઓ મળી છે અને જેમની હોય તેમની યોગ્ય ઓળખાણ આપીને પોતાની વસ્તુઓ મેળવી લે. ખાસ ખ્યાલ રહે જે પણ ખોવાયેલી વસ્તુઓ મળે છે તે માહિતી કેન્દ્રમાં જમા કરાવી અને જેમની વસ્તુ ખોવાયેલી હોય તેઓ માહિતી કેન્દ્રમાં પોતાનો સંપર્ક કરવો. જય સચ્ચિદાનંદ.
So the Parayan of August the 25th has started now in the morning session, Aptavani 3. Just a matter of minutes before we see our Gnani. And this is the live English voiceover of the English interpretation, direct English interpretation of the words of our Gnani Purush, as well as live reading that is going to happen. So we will most likely now enter into chapter number 5, Parinam Parinam. And chapter number 5, Parinam Parinam. So this is the morning session of August the 25th, 2014, day 4 of the Parayan of Aptavani 3, with our current Gnani of Akram Vignan, Pujya Deepakbhai, and thousands of Mahatmas who have gathered in Simandar city. We were just last reading, Have It Attained the Self? This is in the chapter 4, the bottom portion, the last paragraph I think needs to be read. Having attained the self, what now? Whatever Shuddha Upyog remains, that much Swasvata authority of the self will arise. Because up until then he was discussing about man or pride. So that is where we were at as we so in the last, as we see our Gnani now enter the hall, climb up the ramp and move over to Lord Simandar directly. Oh my Lord, I am as pure as you are, my Lord. Make me filled with your vision only of absolute knowledge as the pure knower and seer only. As we place the flowers at your feet, flowers of love, flowers of total surrender, Namo Arihantanam, and moving over to Lord Sri Krishna Bhagwan, Lord Krishna gave the direct science of the knowledge of the self to Arjun, didn't ask him to do anything, just gave him the knowledge of who he really was. And this is exactly what we all have received in our Akram Vignan from our Gnani Purush Dadashri. And to the Shiva symbol, Shiva representing the one who has become the embodiment for salvation of the world. We have a Shiva in front of us. Gnani Deepakbhai is a Shiva because he transforms living beings into Shivas. And our magnificent Akram Vignani, a garland of roses for him, Gnani Purush Dadashri, our highest namaskars, which are filled with love which is beyond words. O Dada, Dadashri, as it moves over to the left side of the stage where we have Ma Padmavati, the celestial beings, and in the celestial realm we have Ma Padmavati, Ma Amba, and Ma Niruma, who continues to do magnificent work of Jagat Kalyan through her subtle presence and beautiful flowers of roses for Niruma, and dear Niruma, our highest namaskars to you for preserving this magnificent Vignan for generations to come. And Ma Amba, who signifies the energy that allows a human being to become natural in worldly interactions and makes the Prakruti Sahaj, as he gives darshan with his eyes and his presence to each thousands who have gathered now in the Dada Nagar Hall, the city of Dada. This hall is called the city of Dada, just behind this Trimandir temple, adjacent to Simandar city and between ATPL and the temple. We see, and now we will turn off the sound. As we enter the reading part, the Dada Bhagwan Nasim Ji Karho is still going on. We will be soon entering the chapter 5 of Aptavani 3. Aptavani 3, by the way, is available on the Dadashri website, dadashri.org/av3.pdf. There is a German version that is also available, which you can receive from over and also from the dadabhagwan.de website. And now we have the I believe we have the last paragraph of chapter 4 remaining. If someone insults you very badly, then that authority of the other should not overpower you. Not only an insult, but even if someone were to cut off your nose, extreme public slander, do not accept the authority of the other. Do not let it affect you. And having attained the self, Atma, what now? Whatever Shuddha Upyog, being the self, seeing the relative as pure, remains, that much Swasatta, authority of the self, will arise. So it is exclusively based on the purity of the self, the purity of the other person, and the seeing of the pure only in all that is in front of us. So we wait our Gnani as he decides where we read from. And every day there is a bunch of questions that continue to remain that are not cleared up in the second half of each morning or evening session. The past satsangs, as we get the darshan of our Gnani and his meditative state of I am the absolute pure soul only. Jai Sachidanand, the awareness of eternal is bliss. I bow to the absolute one who resides within you with a sense of deep devotion and extreme sense of oneness and total sense of oneness. Did you do the Samaik yesterday on pride? Did you have the awareness against pride? Were you able to see how your man or pride has caused you so many difficulties in life? As much as you saw, that is all gone. Just as you have a knot of cancer somewhere in your body, don't you have severe awareness that that doesn't belong to you and it needs to be received in the same way? Lord Krupadudev, the previous Gnani, has said that if there was no man in life, the one would become instantly liberated. So now, we need to be very careful on the discharging man or pride. Let us move forward. Let us move forward now. And please let me know if there is a discontinuation of this stream. So now, okay, so this is called chapter 5. Swaparinam and Paraparinam. Don't say Khand, say chapter 5. State of the self, state of the non-self. What is the natural state of being in the self? What is Parinati? What is Parinati? It is that which happens naturally. Nothing needs to be done. The awareness of I am doing should never arise in the activities of the Pudgal, the non-self complex that are being carried out by Vyavasthit. They are the result of Vyavasthit. And I don't know, Uwe, I message, but I hope everything is working. Uwe, just write the message again, please. I can't see what you wrote, but so I'm just going to continue to read unless there is the Swaparinam and the Parparinam. Parinam means the result, that which happens naturally. That the results of the self is called Swaparinati. All is fine. Okay, good. Thank you, Uwe. All right, all is good. And so the evidences of the non-self complexes are also naturally happening, but you see, the lack of awareness makes a person feel that I am doing it. But in the aware state, one is aware that is Vyavasthit is the doer, and that is called Swaparinati. Swaparinati results in moksha. To believe I am doing is that in the result. In that which is the result of the non-self is Paraparinati, and it is the cause of worldly life. The Lord has called Swaparinati or Moksha. What is Swaparinati? Vyavasthit makes Chandulal do everything, and you simply have to see all that, and that is called Swaparinati. You do not have to interfere or to be concerned about the right or the wrong. You should not have any attachment, rag, or abhorrence towards it. Whatever has happened, whether you feel that it is good thing happened or bad thing happened, then that means you have not seen it, but instead have become the doer. You have become over. You have become Khatya or Svenya. You should understand everything from the Gnani. If you explain to the people of the world who are not self-realized what Parparinatis and Swaparinatis is, and even if you teach them and make them sing about it, they will forget it as soon as they go home. Until the Gnani Purush uproots the Kashai Bhav, anger, pride, deceit, greed within you, the work will not get done. The world exists on Kashai Bhav, ownership of anger, pride, deceit, and greed. The self has been bound by the links of the chain of Kashai. That is why those who have conquered Kashais are called Arihants. So, you see, Krodhman is I, anger, pride is I, and this body is mine is called greed and deceit. So that is why anger, pride, deceit, and greed are the reasons why you are bound in this body. Anger, pride is I, and deceit, greed is my. You see? Now this is now for all of us who have awakened in the Gnanvidhi, this is all remaining in discharge only, which we need to be aware of. Kashai leave when Gnani Purush gives Gnan, and thereafter he gives the experiential understanding of the distinction between Swaparinam and Parparinam. Otherwise, nothing is achieved by rhetorical teaching, repetitive teaching. It is forgotten right away. If there is a large pond covered with algae, and you throw a large stone in it, it will create a circle of which is 20 to 25 feet wide, free of algae. But after a while, everything will turn back the way it was before, and the algae will recover the pond all over again. Thus, nothing is attained. Only if you completely remove the algae from the pond, it can be brought under control. Then it will not have much energy. Questioner, that is difficult. Dadashri says, no, the Gnani Purush will do it all for you for sure. But you have to sit here with us and understand this matter. What is Swaparinati and what is Parparinati? Now, Parparinati exists as long as there is ignorance. The eating and activity is also the Pudgal. I enjoyed it is also Pudgal. Everything is Pudgal Bhav. The intents of the Pudgal to believe that they are mine is Parparinati, and to be aware of them only, to know them as separate from you is Swaparinati. 5 Agnas is the best way to remain in Swaparinati. Parparinati exists as long as there is ignorance, is the heading. Now somebody is asking. Dadashri says that I am continuously in the results of the self only, of the S capital self only. The results of the self is called Swaparinam. And that is our goal too, to become like Dada's state. And Sanjay is asking, Per Parinam and Per Parinati both have the I am doing. What is the difference between Per Parinam and Per Parinati? Per Parinam is under the influence of SCE, whereas Per Parinati is to believe the wrong belief. Per Parinati means to believe that I am over and this is happening to me. Whereas Per Parinam is the result of scientific circumstantial evidences and is under the control of SCE only. You see, when you eat and the taste and everything, all with reference to the food, and then when the opinions about it, everything is all Per Parinam only. It's Per Parinati. Swaparinati is to be no. What is Per Parinam? Per Parinam means the effects of Pudgal only. There is discharge effects are called Per Parinam, or the results of the non-self complex only, of the Pudgal only. We have not done anything. It is only the discharge of that which was charged. If we do not interfere in it, then nothing new will happen in it, and it will discharge on its own. If there is, as long as the electricity is going on to the refrigerator, the ice will remain ice. But once the plug is pulled, then the ice will melt, and everything, all the ice in the fridge will melt. And so then the ice will enter its natural state, which is the water only. You don't have to do anything. If you pull the plug off, the ice that is there will automatically form water and flow away. You see, this is how it is. And but otherwise, you say, "Oh, I did this and I did that, and that is wrong. That is egoism, and that is called parinati." Uh, when you believe that I am doer and I am doing it, it is called parinati. It is parinati means interference. Parinam is the results of scientific circumstantial evidences, and swaparinam is I am aware and being seeing it and knowing all that is happening only. That is all. Then is another question. Last Parayan you said Bhan means anubhav, experience. Parinati is it is the state of the awareness, you see. Through the awareness you are now not entering into the non-self. To be the self is called swaparinati, and to be the non-self is to be aware, to be kachya is the parinati. It begins through the awareness of Ich bin reine Seele, and then it moves forward into the state of the self only. And so whether we know it or not, this is a very major thing. You see, it's a little child has been given $1 billion diamond and he doesn't realize the value of it. That is how it is. And come on, come here, son. Take this chocolate and biscuit and give me that diamond. And he exchanges it for it, you see. And so everybody around us is saying, preserve it, don't you let the science go away. Parinati, what is parinati? Where is anubhav, lakshan, pratiti, conviction, awareness and experience? Where does it come? For us, it is all three, and that is why there is swaparinati. All three: the conviction, the awareness, and the experience of the self. Is what is swaparinam? There is automatic. The swaparinam means that which is happening on the knowing and the seeing. Gnata drashta, the knower and the seer is swaparinam. One remains the knower and seer. And so there is the knower and seer is seeing the results of the Pudgal Parinama, the non-self results only. But parinati is to believe that I am doing it, I am over and I am doing it. But you see, with that belief, he misses out the real beauty of the Swaparinam, which is the energy of the self and the vision of the self and the knowing of the nature of the self. You see, now we have a distinct line of demarcation since the Gnanvidhi into the Swa of the self and Par of the non-self complex, you see. I say, when there is no Gnan, one is continuously absorbed in the Parinati, in the non-self complex only. But to know that I am separate from this mind, speech and body is really the Swaparinati. I am pure soul, I am not this mind, speech and body, I am Reine Seele. Swaparinam, the state of the self is actually the conduct, C capital as the self, where no evidences of the external Pudgal ever affect you and you are in the pure no-seer state. It begins with the state of the entering government when you attain the Rainasile in the Gnanvidhi, and it rises all the way to the absolute self state. And in the interim state, as the Rainasile, you say everything is under the control and the influence of SCE, and Dadashri has finished Swaparinati and has entered into Swaparinam, which is the ultimate state where he is one with the absolute self, the Dada Bhagwan within him, you see. You don't have to separate the non-self from the self. It is automatically there for you. It is naturally there through the clear and the distinct experience of the self only. To continue to remain as the knower and seer, it is actually Swaparinam. But in the beginning state we say, but actually Gnata Drashta is the conduct as the self, you see. And even we have all entered into the experience of self only by 2 to 3 degrees percent only. And so therefore we continue to have some degree of discharge, rag, dvesh, because we enter into the non-self and enter into some degrees of parinati and seemingly enter into the function and the belief that I'm over, I'm nada, I'm yuta. You see, now we cannot be talking about Nata Drashta, the knower seer. That is very high level state. Right now, we are all at the level of the increasing awareness level and moving towards the experience of the total experience of the self, which is, and once it comes to the clear and the distinct experience of the self, then there will be the phase of the knower seer, the Gnata Drashta, the continuous knowing and the seeing. That is the state of the Gnanis, and Dada says that that is exactly what prevails in Gnanis, and therefore the vision has to, but for us the vision has changed in the direction of the self. What is the Swaparinam of Dada versus the Swaparinam of Tirthankar Lord? You see, the Tirthankar is just 100%, whereas Dadashri is just a little bit, by about 3 to 4 degrees only, maybe 2 degrees, maybe. But for us, we say the 14th day of the moon and the 13th day of the moon as good as Punam, the full moon, do we not? Is as good as the full moon for us. I mean, unless you look very carefully, you will not know the difference between the 13th and the 14th day and on the full moon, would you? And because Parinati is also associated with the reference to the doership only, says Dimple, and it has been said elsewhere in when you talk about Parinati, it is as with reference to the doer only. Pudgal Parinati, it is there in the paragraph right there in front of us, you see. It is only as long as there is a doer, there is the word Parinati is applied. Swaparinati and Paparinati. Swaparinati, there is the internal natural state of the knowing and seeing. Now, Agnan, Parinati exists as long as there is ignorance. Many say this man's Parinati situation tendency is not very good. Parinati is something completely different. But people use this word very loosely. There should be the word Parinati should not be used either in traditional religion or in any other case. If a person goes to hear a discourse and is sitting there, he has thoughts about the worldly life, he will believe that as Parinati. The involvement in any religious activity is considered Swaparinati, but he does not realize that from the very main root he is in Parinati by being I am Chandulal, I am Ove. As long as Atma Parinati, being the self, has not arisen, the Pudgal Parinati only I am Chandulal, I am the doer. And so, how can you understand that the Pudgal Parinati is absolutely separate from Swaparinati? Yes, the moment one says, if one is stuck in the mud, how can he know that there is a state where there is no mud? You see, the moment one says that I am and this is mine, then both flow as one. Yes, and the moment you say I am this and I am this is mine, both of them flow together. But the Gnani is constantly in the state of Swaparinati. Questioner, Dada, whenever we see you, you always appear free, mukta. You are always in a liberated mood. What is the reason behind it? Dadashri says, not even for a moment are we in parinati, in the doership or the minus. We are always in swaparinati. If only for an hour the state of parinati were to arise within me, you would see a change in my face. The Gnani never has parinati. It is a wonder of this world that he remains constantly in the Swaparinati. Writers of Hindu scriptures have given a very high state to anyone who comes into Swaparinati, even for a second. Krupaludev, Gnani Purush Srimad Rajchandra has said that the Gnani Purush is a Dehadhari Paramatma, the embodiment of the Absolute Self, God with a body, and that is why it is said that we are searching for a Paramatma. Why are you searching for a God elsewhere? Look for a Gnani Purush who has come here with a living body, who has a living body, who is considered the embodiment of the Absolute Self. It is the one who does not have any parinati at all, no sense of I am this body and I am the doer. He is constantly in a state of swaparinati only. Next is the Purush Arth of being. So this is continuously swaparinati is the state of the Gnani, continuously as the self. But when you are in the continuous swaparinati, that is the state of the Gnani, whereas Mahatmas kind of shift back and forth between swaparinati, versus a little bit of this Parinati, seeming movement into the sense that I am doing it and I am this body. Okay. As you remain in the five agnas, the state will come when you will be continuously in the state of the Swaparinati only. He attained Gnani in 1958, and also he still continued his business also, and and whether there was a lot of profit or loss, he was not concerned with it. But he remained as the embodiment of the absolute self with his living body. He remained as the Gnani in Swaparinati only. And that is why he is being worshipped so magnificently now. Because the person is asking, the person is giving, Ketan is still asking about the Swaparinam versus Swaparinati. When you are in a constant state of the self only, you are in Swaparinam only, are we not? When you are continuously in Swaparinati as the self, then that is the result of the self only, right? And this is all given much more detailed Swaparinam in Aptavani 14. Now, for Mahatmas, it is like to and fro, back and forth between Swaparinati and Parinati, Nati, whereas for the Gnani, it is Swaparinam only, the state of the self only. And, the scriptures writers have said that if you take the horn of a cow and you put a little seed on it, and if for that moment of time, if you become the soul, then it is a very great thing, you see. But for us, all the state Ishbin Rana Zile is continuously there within all of us for the entire day, and it is there subsurface too, regardless of what we are doing, and therefore this is a very magnificent state of Swaparinati that has arisen within the Mahatmas of Akram Vignani, Gnani Purush Dadashri. Okay? Now, the Purusharth of being in Swaparinati. Now, the Lord was always in Swaparinati, Lord Mahavir. We too remain in Swaparinati. We do not consider Parinam, effects of the non-selves, to be ours, so that you too can remain in only the state of Swaparinati. We are telling you that you should keep a worldly interacting relationship with Chandulal, the self. Whether you are able to keep a relationship with others or not, what does it matter? Otherwise, yeah, you should have a separation. You see, by talking to Chandulal, by talking to Uwe, by talking to Svenya, by talking to Nada, you can keep a worldly interacting relationship. You see, as if Svenya or Nada is separate from you. Others will not come to sleep in your room. Whether you are able to keep a relationship with others or not, what does it matter? Others will not come to sleep in your room, whereas Chandulal is constantly going to sleep with you all the time. So maintain a worldly interaction relationship with him. Massage his head or legs for him, talk to him, and sympathize with him because he is your neighbor, is he not? Yes. Oh, this is beautiful. Yeah. This is the ultimate solution, isn't it? By being kind to Uwe, by being kind to Katya, by being good to Katya, you are maintaining a relationship with her. All you have to do is to understand which dravya, eternal element results are these. This is, you see, that means this is the Pudgal Bhav only. It is the result of Pudgal Bhav, and the seer is the self, the Chetan Dravya. It is the result of Pudgal Dravya, it is the non-self, or is it the result of Chetan Dravya? You just have to understand this. Parinam and Swaparinam should be separately instant, it should be separate instantly with this vision. It is by, this is part of Agna 1 and Agna 2 for all of us, you see. When you say this is all relative, this is Parinam, this is all Parinati, this is all the results of the non-self, it is not my result. My result is that I am aware of what is going on. All of these changing intents are of the non-self, and they have got nothing to do with the intentions of the self only, as capital, the Chetan Dravya, the self. After we give Gnan, Parinati ceases. But because you do not know how to see, you get trapped and you continue to be confused in the storms of the mind and the intellect. You experience suffocation. All you have to do is to see what parinati it is. Is it of the self or is it of the non self? Externally, let there be a war or a storm. We do not have any problems. If such a state of swaparinati arises, then no state of parparinati will teach you, will touch you. The vibrations of the mind, intellect, chit that arise are purangalan, emptying of that which was filled. You do not have anything to do with them. The self does not do anything in this. The Pudgal verily is the doer. The Pudgal verily is the doer. From the moment of arising in the morning, the Pudgal is in its own Parinam effect, and the self is in its own Parinam, the knower state. Now here is the word coming, per Parinam and per Parinam of the self and Swa Parinam of the state. One is an effect and the other one is a knower, you see. And so no matter the worst thing may have happened through Uva or through Svenya or through Nada, that is all an effect of the non-self only, and it has got nothing to do with you, the blissful one, the knower. But if the separation has happened, so this vibration in the mind belong to the mind only, and you have to say, but you see, and once you know that it is happening to something else, then you will become free and progressively free, and then no ghosts will touch you, and this is what the Gnani is reading from, you see, and so from the moment of arising in the morning, the Pudgal is in its own effect, and the self is in its own effect, the knower state. But if the mind is emitting more vibrations and you say, why is this happening to me? Then that ghost gets stuck to you again. So all you have to do is to keep seeing and knowing that right now there is a heavier storm within. But because there are winds of 65 miles per hour, does that mean that you have to abandon your home and run away? The storms will keep coming. There will be many hurricanes on the path to moksha, but do this obstruct you? But they do not obstruct you. Why capital? The awakened one in anyone. The one, it will not affect you. The one, you just have to see them. These are vibrations of the mind only. They are not my vibrations. But if you feel that it is happening to me, or if you even vocalize that it is happening to me, then you are trapped. You see. You should see that this is the storm in the mind. This is the storm in the mind, and be aware of the storm only. And you can, you could be as the self only. And as the storm, if the storm is very heavy, you can think of Dada Bhagwan, the absolute self within him. But you see, but the problem is, why is it happening to me? Why is it happening to me like this? That is the ego. We should understand it is the ego. You should says. You should talk to the ego and says, why are you taking it on yourself? It is the storm of the mind only. I am there for you. So if you cannot remain, and so you can reset your awareness by talking to the ego, saying, why are you saying that it is happening to you? It is happening to the mind, is it not? The one who does not like these external effects of the non-self finds them useless and does not consider them his results, parinam. That indeed is the presence of the S capital self, and that is swaparinam, the exact definition of swaparinam only, you see. But when you say, I like it, I want more pleasure, then you are setting yourself up for per parinam or per parinati. You see, you are now entering into the non-self. But if you don't have any interest in it, if you find them useless, then whatever they may be, pleasant or unpleasant, magnificent or not so magnificent, they belong to the non-self. But because you like them, it is because of the greed and the deception, the moha that makes you become attached to it and make you come under the illusion, and therefore you get dragged into it, and therefore you get confused because you find them, you like it, and because you liked it, if it is not to your liking, then the confusion arises. Only the Gnani can make you attain the science of separation. Both the eternal elements or dravya become established in their state. That is, the Pudgal, the non-self, and the Chetan, the self, both maintain their property. Pudgal continues to result in its nature and Chetan remains in its nature. Neither leave its own inherent nature, but only the Gnani separates the two. Until he separates them, nothing will be achieved in a wandering of infinite lifetimes. Once we have come into Atma Bhav, the nature of the self, and slowly, and then we will come into our own original state only. There is the main disconnection has happened in the Gnan Vidhi, and that I am doing it has been disconnected, and therefore sooner or later that the rest of the train will be very far behind the engine that you are, that is going towards moksha. You see, and this has been broken at the level of the subtlest ego called Sukshmatam Ahankar, the subtlest ego. What does it mean when the Chetan is actually worshipping its own nature only? The self is worshipping its own nature. Because you are you currently are believing that I am Sanjay, etc. He said that is, but actually you are the pure soul, you were the pure soul, you are the self, but you see now you have entered into your home only. And when you say, but sometimes you say, I can't eat today, I'm not hungry today, my tooth is paining, but are you not aware of the fact that you're not able to eat? But you see, you are the knower pure soul only, even though you cannot eat or you cannot move your body, you are the knower only. It is the body state that is changing. Is the 2% experience? Is the 2% experience as a self is Swaparinati. So Deepakbhai is defining Swaparinam at a much higher level than what Dadashri has said. Swaparinam is 100% continuous state of the Gnata Drashta only, says Deepakbhai, whereas the Gnani Purush Dadashri has given us the big the Swaparinam has been defined right there in front of us. But anyway, according to the question, Swaparinam of the 2% experience that one attains of the self, is that the Swaparinam, was the question from Sanjay. But Deepakbhai does not agree with that. He says no, that the experience of the soul that has happened at 2 degrees is not the Swaparinam, but it is much more beyond. Anyway, we don't to compare, but anyway, the comparison is not important. Yes, because the Deepakbhai says, as a Mahatma, one should really do a samayik on the magnificent thing that we have received rather than looking at all the kashais only. Let us sometimes do a samayik on the beauty of what we have received only, you see. Whereas the other ones are, people of the world are constantly in all kinds of spiritual practices trying to get a glimpse of the soul and are not able to do that. And we are floating in the ocean of souls and soul energy. And so, and we are playing around, and we have been mischief, and yet we are in the ocean of the bliss of the self, you see. And whenever we are a little disturbed on that day, we should really go into samayik of what a magnificent thing we have received. Why even we bother about hurting anyone? Why this magnificent state of the self is so great and gorgeous. This is so. Well, still the debate is going on between the subtle words of Swaparinam versus Swaparinati, between the two of them right now in front of us. But anyway, let us continue now. Only Gnani, even the Swaparinati, the entry into the self, is a very major result. It is a very great thing. And now the Gnani is reading the Gnani's Purush's definition of Swaparinam, because he just looked at it. But now we have it as through the experience. You see, despite the worst kinds of storms and violence in the external world, you see, whether there is death of a loved one, there is the constant state of the Swaparinam within, that he is not disturbed at all inside. And this is the living experience of hundreds of thousands of Mahatmas now all over the world. You see, and this is... now only a Gnani can make you attain the science of separation. But both so it is the science of separation, Ved Vignan, in totality. It is mightier than all the scriptures of the world. In the scriptures, all they have written is to do this and do that. They are full of rituals. However, the science of separation, Veda Vignan, is a different thing altogether. You will not find it in the scriptures. It is only attained through the grace of the Gnani Purush. The one for whom Swaparinati prevails, there is no Parparinati, and is indeed living is called a Sadguru. In other words, the new definition of Sadguru, that he is always prevailing in the state of the self only, Swaparinati only, the overseer state. He was an ordinary human being, and then in the Gnanvidhi, in 1 hour, he is separated through the Ved Vignan, the science of separation. And so he has, you see, now he has conquered his senses, he has risen above his 5 senses, and so he's got the state of the Jitendriya Jin and the Jit Mohniya Jin. And so in essence, he is now in a state where he is devaluing everything that is out there in the world with reference to the 5 senses. Devaluing. The one for whom Swaparinati prevails, there is no Parparinati, and there is no Parparinati, is living, is called a Sadguru, the true Guru. Now, what is Nich Parinati? Again, when Swaparinati arises, even for a second, it is called Samaisar, the essence of the self. Even for a Samai, the smallest fraction of time which cannot be divided further, when the state of Samaisar, the self, arises in anyone, that state will remain forever for sure. Question of Shuddhatma is not Nich Parinati, not the same as Swaparinati. Gnan is Nich Parinati. Please explain this sentence. Dadashri says Shuddhatma is not Nich Parinati. Nich Parinati is otherwise known as Swaparinati. Shuddhatma, pure soul, is Sangnya, word association. The Gnan that we give you, the Gnan experience, and when that Gnan comes into Upyog, applied awareness of the self, then one comes into Swaparinati or Nich Parinati. So, in other words, the applied application of the knowledge that is received in the Gnan Vidhi is called Nich Parinati or Swaparinati. Yes. Are you? Yes, yes, even on the TV, when they listen to Deepakbhai saying, say at night, at bedtime, that Ich bin reines Seele, ich bin reines Seele, even if he has not received the Gnanvidhi, he will say, oh, this feels good when I say Hushudhatmachu when I go to bed. He has not even entered the Gnanvidhi. But you see, then he has to attain the Gnanvidhi, the separation has to happen, as said here, and then it will come into the Upyog or the applied awareness, then one enters into the Swaparinati. When one is in one of the 5 agnas that you have given us, is that considered Nich Parinati or not? Yeah, just tell me, one agna is enough or not? Yes, that is called Swaparinati or Nich Parinati. Our agnas, yes, you see. So, just from 5 years come to only 1 agna. Our agnas are verily to remain in Nich Parinati, the state of the seeing and the knowing the non-self. There is no other Parinati result in that. That is our agnas are verily to remain in the Swaparinati or Nich Parinati, to be the seer and the knower of the non-self only. And there is no other result in that. Questioner, when the intent to do the darshan of Dada Bhagwan arises, does that intent come under Swabhav, the nature of the self? Dadashri says, those are all the results that lead ultimately to the self. They are also results of the non-self. However, they are considered beneficial because they lead to the self. They are very close to the self, you see. And because after the Gnanvidhi, Dada Bhagwan is your absolute self within you only. And that is the darshan. Besides Swaparinati, all other is called Pudgal Parinati. As long as there is the slightest dependency on anyone or anything, it is considered Parinati. And if there is any dependence on an idol, a guru, a scripture, renunciation, it is all Parinati. And the dependency on Shuddhatma Bhagwan within is Swaparinati. You see, this is a beautiful definition. Alright. If you got a dependency on anyone, if you depend on anyone except your own magnificent self within you, it is called Parinati. You see. But you see, now we have the awareness of the Gnan Vidhi, and then we are in the Gnan only through the 5 agnas. Now the question is being asked. You see, just the word Shuddhatma is not the Nij Parinati. There has to be the experience of the Shuddhatma that begins in the Gnanvidhi that becomes the Swaparinati, you see. You see, other people also say that I am not this body, the body is temporary, transient, I am eternal, etc. I am the pure, I am the soul, I am absolute soul, etc. by reading scriptures like Samaisar, etc. But that is not the experience. It has to be through the experience that has arisen in the Gnanvidhi or through the grace of the Gnani Purush. Otherwise, it is impossible really to begin. So, Nij and Swa is the same. It is only after awareness of the self that arises in the Gnanvidhi, it is called this Nij Parinati or Swaparinati. But initially, I am pure soul, Ich bin reine Seele is only a dependency on the words only. But because it has been given by the Gnani, it is really, it is considered now Swaparinati because in association with the word Ich bin reine Seele, there is also the conviction that I am pure soul, there is the awareness of the pure soul, and there is also an experience of the pure soul, you see, because it has touched the experience level, you see, and by therefore remaining by the application of that experience, awareness, and conviction is actually the five agnas only. And in certain matters, in situations in life, then one has to enter into a penance mode because it may not be there. Yes. Now you see, it's the Kshayak Samkit state. In other words, the exact full total vision that I am not the doer has arisen in association with the exact awareness of the doer as well as the experience of the self. Next, how did Dadashri prevail in Swaparinati? Questioner. Despite knowing that this is temporary, who is making a mistake in knowing the permanent? Dadashri. It is the one who believes the temporary to be permanent. The one, after attaining the knowledge of the self, Gnan, he believes discharge bhav. Bhav is view, that which is rise in front in the current life, you see, to be his own. You see, that's the ego, you see. The ego, through his intellect, says that, that which is temporary is who I am. So he temporarily becomes Uwe, temporarily becomes Rudiger, temporarily becomes Unisi, you see. That is a mistake. It is the one who believes, after attaining the knowledge of the self, if he believes discharge intentions to be his own, that is a mistake. The bhav is a reaction from the past life. To believe the discharge bhav to be mine is parinati. Gnani Purush does not believe each and every single discharge bhav to be his, and thus he is continuously in the swaparinati only. If this is not understood, it is the dullness of the awakened awareness of your Jagruti. The Gnani Purush has so much awareness that he does not believe even a single parmanu of discharge as his. He sees discharge only as discharge. Even then, he does not experience absolute knowledge or Keval Gnan. 4 degrees are lacking. Gnan is completely absolute. Keval at 360 degrees. I was not able to digest that Gnan which manifested in 1958 completely, and so it stopped at 356 degrees. And the Gnan, yes, this vision for all of us, this vision is totally there in Darshan at total. Yes. And you see, before that, we believed that which we liked was ours, and then what we didn't like was of not ours. But now all of those are, whether the good ones or the bad ones, belong to the non-self, not ours only. When whatever is discharging, and to believe that this is not mine at all is actually the full vision, you see. And that is the full vision. That is called Kevad Darshan. I am not doing anything at all. There, you see, it is all discharge only. It is discharge verily only, and that is the experience, prevailing experience. But despite that, there is a deficiency of 4 degrees, says Deepakbhai. All awareness, with the exception of the awareness of knowing the self, is illusory awareness indeed. It is worldly awareness. It helps in the worldly life. Knowledge, Gnan, awareness, Bhan or Jagruti, and Parinati of the self is called Mahavir. You see, being the self, remaining as the self, becoming engrossed in the self is a Gnani. So difference between a Gnani and Mahavir being very big. By being the self, remaining as the self, becoming engrossed in the self as the self is the Gnani. Is the Gnani. Right now there is a little bit of Uve-ism, little bit of Nada-ism. You see, there's a little bit of the temporary doership sense, and that is, I'm doing it, but ultimately it will all go away. Gnani is attained. Gnani is attained with absolute humility, param vinay. Okay, so now you are asking, all the answers will be there. Questioner, what do you give us so magnificently in the Vidhi? The Adashri is 48 minutes of scientific process of separating the self and the Gnan Vidhi. The Adashri says, if one were to give, he would become a beggar. If I keep giving what I have, then I will become empty and I will become a beggar. We do not give anything, nor do we accept anything. We are vitarag, absolutely without attachment or abhorrence. And so whatever you give, you get back 100-fold. If you give me one flower, you will get 100 flowers in return. And if you throw a stone at me, you will get 100 in return. So therefore, if you say the slightest thing wrong, you will get 100 wrong thing. And if you say the one right thing with a Gnani, you will get 100 times the result. So you have to be very careful when it comes to a Gnani. If you, even a statue of the Lord, if you put a flower, you get a lot of benefit. And if you really do some damage to that statue, as some people of the world do, you will get a lot of loss. This is a very deep science. Questioner, the grace that you bestow so heavily upon us, what is that? Dadashri, that too is this thing indeed. Whatever intent you place here, it will come back to you 100 times over. Questioner, what should one's conduct be like if he wants to attain Gnan like yours, Dada? Dadashri says, humility to. This is now the answer here. Everybody listen, says Deepakbhai. Humility towards parents is required. You have to follow their agnas. Similarly, param vinay, absolute humility, is needed in front of the Gnani here. What is absolute humility or param vinay? In front of, here we always respect our parents, we keep them, so then they bless you, you see. But here, when, and we progress further in life, for Gnan, you have to have absolute humility where Gnan is, which is where the Gnani is. Why does it multiply by 100%? If you throw a stone, if he receives it, then it will not come to me. But if you see, if you throw it very hard against a wall, the wall doesn't accept it and comes back to you, you see. Does it not come? If the other person does not have a receiver, if there is no receiver, there is no reaction. But you see, if you give something and the other person receives it, then it will not come back to you, would it? When you give something, don't you think the other person receives it? If you are a strong man, the other person will say, you are a strong guy, come along, let's fight. Whereas the non-receiver will not receive anything, you see. And so the ultimate non-receiver is the Shuddhatma Bhagwan, the pure soul within. He doesn't receive anything. He is vitarag. He doesn't receive anything. By being the self, by becoming the self, one can remain vitarag. Yes, when one does the arti of Dada, he gets it multiplied by 100%. He gets a lot of internal result, a lot of inner peace inside, a lot of inner bliss within through the arti of Dada. Because Dada remained vitrag, even though that they used to do live arti of Dada, Dada would be vitrag during that time. So those who did arti of Dada would get tremendous results. And we too are doing arti of Dada, are we not? But when you get accused, you see, there is neither rag nor dvesh. There is no dvesh, you are vitarag, you see. And And so by remaining with rag, it helps the other person. And so those who are negative and who speak negatively, viradana, they get a lot of, they get very major damage because they are clashing with a gnani. But then he will return by doing aradhana, opposite of viradana. The negativity is the positive towards the gnani. You see, but he will in the interim time he will incur tremendous suffering because the viradna of the gnani, talking negative of the gnani or really doing anything against the gnani is a very major dangerous thing. But will the gnani not put a protection? But you see, but it all depends. Some people do come back, but you see, the gnani has limitations there. But if the other person is extremely egoistic and heavily insistent and is tremendously and seriously negative towards the gnani, then it will be very difficult situation, is it? But we have seen that some even return after 15 years. We have seen people who have said openly negative things to Gnani Purush Dadashri and then come back again. Because the one who is viradak will become an aradak, but one who is apradi, the one who is totally in total fault, will have not be able to come back. But 5 to 25 years also, I have seen many cases where they come back, you see. Only one or two cases are such that they really get totally spoiled. When you give the protective fence, what is the protective fence? Yes, there is karuna, there is compassion, there is vitrag, but what is this protection that the gnani places on him? Because there is abhedta with that person, there is oneness. Even if he is throwing stones at the gnani has compassion and oneness with that person who is throwing stones at him, whether they're verbal stones or physical stones, you see. And then the gnani is totally immersed in his compassion towards such a person because he knows that this person is really going the wrong way, you know. And as we become clear within ourselves, those energies will arise within us because in this world, for the one who does not want anything in this world, all the energies of the entire universe will come to him for the salvation of the world. You see, all of those keys will come in his hands. And this is the compassion of the Gnani. And he is not doing it deliberately, he is doing it out of the lack of light and lack of knowledge and out of ignorance only. But you see, and this is how the Gnani protects them. And this talk about absolute humility. Why is there absolute humility only for the Gnani? If you like absolute humility, then why don't you do it for everyone instead of the Gnani? Why do you say it is only for the Gnani only? Yes. But you see, so in other words, Param Vinay means absolute humility, means they are not offending anyone. That is it, you see. You see, for the world you have Vinay, that means you don't offend anyone, but for the Gnani there is absolute humility. This is why. It is the state without the ego, Dadashri says. Yes, absolute humility means there is no ego or intellect, and that is, in fact, every Mahatma enters into absolute humility after the Gnan Vidhi, you see, because ego and intellect disappear, you see. Yeah. And you have to leave one home alone, the home of the Gnani. Don't you do anything negative there. And you see, and you may do things at other homes, but never at the home of the Gnani. What is absolute humility? And Dadashri, it is the state without any ego. The nature of Gnan is such that it comes down from above, and so if a person misses absolute humility, he sends that very Gnan back. He rejects the Gnan. Absolute humility, Param Vinay, means to keep on acquiring. You see, when you really come down, then automatically you receive from a higher source. Ego means to rise above from where you are, you see. Ego means to separate yourself from the other person. When there is no ego, then you really are together, are you not? 81. Absolute humility means to keep on acquiring. It is to keep earning the Rajipo, the pleasure of a person worthy of worship, Pujya. There is no matter how much he abuses you, There, no matter how much he abuses, you have to stay with him. When Dada is happy with you, I have seen one person had hurt another other person, and the Dada said that I can feel it with that I'm so I can feel it that you are hurting the other person. I can't stand it. Why are you hurting the other person? How can the pain of both of these and the suffering cease? And whenever they meet, Dada would be constantly worried about both of them, concerned, and will not never do it. So now then there is peace. But inside he is Vitrag, but externally as Gnani Purush, he was extremely concerned that nobody should be fighting with anyone in front of him. And so then if you want to keep Dada happy about with you, this is the amazing thing. You don't hurt anyone. Do not apply the first column everywhere. Do not hurt the ego of anyone, you see. You see, no matter what you're doing in your world, the hurt part has to be avoided, you see. This in the same way. And you see, because of the alcohol of illusory attachment and the alcohol of ego, they are such they end up hurting people in this world. And so you really need to really stay away from the alcohol of the ego and the alcohol of the illusion that this is mine, you see. The illusion is mine and ego is I, you see. And you see. And so if you really enter into those, then Dada will be displeased, you see. And so then there will be no grace falling on you, and then the grace will not be there, you see. And the displeasure of Dada is the displeasure of this absolute self, because you're hurting your own self only. Your own kashais within are hurting you, nobody else. Our own kashais are hurting. Other people are not hurting us in this world. And so if we can arrange the knowledge as it is, then this junk will all go away, this trash will all leave. And the trash is nothing but the kashais within me only, and that is preventing me from keeping Dada pleased with me, you see. And I see others at fault. You see, Rajipo is the pleasure of the Gnani Purush, or who is our absolute self within us only, you see. You see. And if a student sits in the front of the class and pays attention to what the teacher is saying, then the teacher will be pleased with the student in the front and will pay extra attention with him, as opposed to the guy who is making aircrafts out of paperwork, you see, paper, and trying and shooting them at others, you see, in the back, and not paying attention. So the critical thing is the attentive awareness with absolute humility, and to absorb the words of the Gnani and therefore follow along. And that is the Rajip of the Gnani. Dadashri says, in 1977, Dada has said that, yes, and Dadashri says, even if Dada could see a little bit of extra awareness, he would really get so pleased that he will keep on nurturing me. And so Dada was so pleased with the awareness that Deepak had increased, a little bit of increased awareness, you see. You see, the awareness is through the seeing the self, to be in the agnas and see this others as flawless. Yes. And so Dada says that because you have risen high, then I know that many others will rise higher. You see, you see. And if you are planted something in a field, or then he says, when they germinate and then you become very happy. You see, so Dada has planted the seeds of the Gnan within all of us, and when he sees them growing beautifully, he will be very pleased. You see, and then when the flowers come, he'll be very happy, and when the fruits come, then he'll be extremely happy, you see. And that is the knowledge that is there, you see. And that is the Rajipo. There's a very beautiful description of Rajipo going on right now. So that is why Kupardev says that do not look for anything, just find a Sat Purush, the one who is enlightened, and keep him happy only, and then follow all his desires as your goal, and then in the 16th next life you will attain moksha. That is, I guarantee. I see, but it is our ego and intellect and our pride, kashais, etc. They don't allow us to keep the Gnani happy, and so we can go our own ways and we get lost in the world again in discharge. And that is, and there is, when because there is associated with ego, when the pride is associated with the ego, then it is, you see, the pride that is there which is without the ego, it will get destroyed, and it will, let you become lagutam, and it will let you come lower, and therefore the dada will be pleased with you. And the question coming again, what what is it that happens to the ego that it starts seeing faults of the gnani? It is because he wants to have his own authority, that is all. He wants to have it his way only. It is, he becomes jealous, all day he is thinking negatively about the Gnani. You see, why? You see, and because he feels that he is better, he feels he is something, it is his pride, and therefore because he wants to feed his own pride, sense of the self, he makes the greatest error in life, after life, where he sees negative of the Gnani. And and you see, then he gets two or three people and subsets, and a few people who say, praise him and say, wow, you have got tremendous knowledge, you're so good. And so then he becomes even more blind, he gets thrown off. He gets totally thrown away from the Gnani and the path of moksha. So the ego of pride is very dangerous. The hungry ego of pride is very dangerous. But through the compassion of the Gnani, and through the attending these satsangs and the desire to return home to the self, many have returned, you see, and many are doing amazing progress of the self in, yes. And if any one of you have any kind of weakness in this matter, please be aware and get rid of it. And of course, and as at the end of this such a Shibir and Parayan, we do not want to have any such storms within us, any such negativities of the hungry ego for pride and the sense that I am superior, I know something, I know better than the Gnani. Gnani doesn't know anything, etc. And we need to get into the Purushartha of the progress as the self only. Another question? So, what is it that pride is? What is the nature of this pride that also throws off the Gnani? It is a kashai. Kashai means being blind. And it is really not his only, it is a result from a previous life reaction, you see. He should be able to see the file 1 that what is wrong with this guy, file 1, why is he acting like this, why is he seeing negative of the Gnani. He should really kind of go in. But if he tries to protect his own view, he'll get thrown away. If there is the slightest suffering in the ocean of bliss, then you should know that there is something wrong with it. It is a cancer that is growing in the wrong area. It should be totally surgerized, extricated, and thrown out. You see, there is no one should be seen at fault, and so the faultless, as long and in this there, and you see there is no as long as the state sense that there is some interference, you see, is there, because the knowledge, ultimate knowledge, is that in this world no living being can interfere in another living being. You see, this is all exact, you see, and so why enter into it at all through the interference? Sooner or later he will return from. Is this at the level of the suffocation, or is it also deep inside it may be there? It is his belief that has changed, that he is Rainesile, but he has Gnan has not come into experience towards that. He has not come. He still believes that I am right, I am correct, I am superior, I have a better knowledge, I have a better understanding. Somehow my understanding is correct, the Gnani's understanding is good, but blah blah blah. You see, that's all. And so, next, in the Param of the Gnani, many times we have, and then we compare you with Niruma, and we compare you, Niruma is to do this and you are not doing this, etc. And that is the, and the comparison is also the loss of Param for the Gnani, is it not? Is it not Avinay, lack of humility and respect? As long as it rises, if it rises, there's nothing wrong, but it should not go beyond, you see. Yes, you can compare that Niruma was so beautiful and magnificent, and now this is like this. But you should be able, you should see that the different prakrutis have different accounts, you see, and you should have the vision of that nature of the Prakriti that was unfolding and the Gnan that was unfolding through the Prakriti of Niruma as opposed to the Prakriti of Deepakbhai, you see. And you have to see it in so many different ways, right? Yes. Yes, such a little bit of adjustment is needed. So, but if you hang on to it, then it is called Avinay. But if it rises and you then let it go, then there's nothing wrong. Be aware of the vision that compares only. That's all. Really? But actually, this is all coming from the tank of the original tank of Gnani Purush Dadashri. You see, so where is the comparison? It is actually the original material is of Gnani Purush Dadashri, and it is flowing through media. That is all. So you got to find out why am I here? Why am I here to really to create divisions and divisiveness and separations? But you see, yes, you know, is I know I give what I know, I share what I know. Niruma was magnificent. But yes, we can remember Niruma and just say that Niruma was magnificent and enjoy that also. But is there a loss? No. But if you do not, this, yes, it may arise because you have two Gnanis in front of you, that is why. But because all of these Aptaputras that we are listening to were very close to Niruma also, by the way. And I too, whatever, you should just have that whatever I was getting through Niruma is now also, I'm also getting from Deepakbhai also. Whatever is deficient and necessary within me is I'm getting it through our current Gnani also, you see, and everybody's clapping now. Yes, everything else is different, we don't know what will happen. And somebody is saying, Apna Dada Mahan che, our Dada is great. And somebody says that you are not scolding us like Niruma, you are not reminding us like Niruma, you are not scolding us like Niruma. But you see, my comments, but you see, I do not tell it live individually to anyone, but if your ears are wide open, then I am saying everything in satsang, I am giving it to you in satsang, in this gather. Because when you are live in front of the person, the ego is not strong enough to receive it, and therefore I do feel like sometimes it's saying, but I don't end up saying live to anyone at all, you see. But Niruma had magnificent energies, she had magnificent compassion, and therefore she was able to say it exactly. I never had that energy like Niruma to say it directly as it is and say, okay, Uwe, get rid of your pride. And but you see, I cannot say it, but I do it in satsang only, you see. So we should not enter into comparison at all, you see. We should not enter into a comparison. But when I want to have it my own way, when I want to kind of somehow manipulate into having it my way and have my own will find its way, then I might enter into comparisons only, because then, so if you do not want to have any loss means going into the world and not losing the self, then just consider it as one only and do not try to make distinctions and separations between the Nirma and Deepakbhai. Why do you see the difference? Why is it that you kind of see the difference? Because you want to get something out of it. That somehow I was a favorite of Niruma, and now I'm no longer being considered here in under Deepakbhai. You see, so why? But you see, internally, the Prajna Shakti is warning everyone, and the person is being warned, and therefore he doesn't want to go there and stabilizes in Swaparinati only. Yes, yes, yes. So then, if you say that whatever Niruma would have said, I also get it from Deepakbhai also, with reference to progressing further in the Purusharth as a self, which is a critical thing. Yes, yes. And also, I also pray to Dada that, oh, Dada and Niruma, please make sure that even the ladies get the exactness so that they can move beautifully in the path of moksha only. And I do not have any load because I know that Dada and Niruma will give the energies to fulfill it. I just need to go to bed every night easily without any problems. That is all, says Deepakbhai. Yeah, when you have mom and papa, do you have to worry as a child? I am their son only. You see, Dada and Niruma are my mommy, papa, mom and dad and mom, and so they are taking care of me. Says Deepak Bhai, and he appears like a child right now. Yeah. Okay, do you think my vision is such that I can reach at every corner? Niruma is taking care of it, and I get messages from Niruma. And so and so Niruma keeps on telling me that I am there, I'll take care of everything. And Niruma says, I am there and I'll take care of you. That's all. I'll take care of everything. Niruma says, I am there and I'll take care of everything. That is all. You see? Alright, now let us read further. And now, by this talk about the. Uh, now, when the one who misses Param Vinay, then Param Vinay is absolute humility towards the source of Gnan, then he'll say that I know, therefore then he is moving away from Gnan, is it not? From knowledge only. But when you say that I'm nothing, I don't know anything, then you are ready to receive everything. But the moment you believe, the moment ego creeps in, then nothing comes in. Ego prevents anything coming in. When you put your, if you connect holding a tray, and if you hold the tray low, then all the water will flow towards you. But if you hold your end high, no water will flow towards you. So you cannot tell some people anything because he is on the high horse of ego, and therefore there is nothing that you can tell. You can't even reach him. He has to come to your level at least before you can even talk to him. But he's sitting on a horse. Horse, how can you really say? You see? If they can, yes, if he can say Harish uncle, you see. Now, if a little child can even say Harish uncle to you, then you have come down. But if you tell him, no, you can tell me anything you want, but so it is the manner in which you tell him. If you have gone down so low that you don't have to say anything, you have become so low in life that even if he gives you a little signal, you know that you have made an error, you see. But our ego always tends to rise so high in certain respects in interactions that it is not willing to listen to anyone at all. So forget about Vinay. You see. Well, Vinay means there is no pride, and Param Vinay means there is no ego. You see, or when there is no pride, when there is a negative feeling towards pride, then it is called Vinay, and Param Vinay means there is absence of ego. You see, so Mana no Abhav is Vinay, and Ahankar no Abhav is Param Vinay. It's almost like a sutra. You see, then the negative always arises when you are in man. The moment you slip from Ich bin reine Seele to Ich bin over, Ich bin nada, then automatically the pride arises, and so you have to get off from that horse. And you see, and so the negativity, the sign of negativity, the moment you say negative, man arises. Man means pride, means now you have given importance to over, you see. And so as long as there is the knot of man, pride, then the knot of pride is in discharge, but you are separate from the pride. Therefore, you can be the seer of the knot of pride and move away from it and keep it separate. Why do you enter into in negativity? Because negativity is the equivalence of pride only. It says, even if somebody says something, no negative, remain positive. Do not look at anything negative upon listening to anyone, you see. No negativity in Simandar city, no negativity anywhere in this body. We have said that no negativity in Simandar city. negativity in Simandar city. You see, no negativity in Simandar city. Yeah. And then you can, if somebody says anything negative, you can say, I do not want to listen. Please tell me positive, 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 positive only. In the same way, you can say no negativity in Munich, Germany, no negativity in anywhere in Germany, no negativity anywhere in Brazil or anywhere in United States. You see, where Mahatmas are. This is, you see, when you want to have it your way, you want to when you want to feed your own kashais of pride, when you want to validate yourself, when you want to prop up you over, then you will be in negativity. You cannot move away from negativity. But when you move away from over, and then the Dadashri says in his entire life nothing negative has arisen in him through conduct, through speech, or through his speech only. Will we not have to become like our Gnani Purush Dadashri? You see, and he said, Mom, you are the father, and I am your Gnatputra. I am the son. We say that in the Charan Vidhi, do we not? And then now there are more properties of the Param Vinay too right in front of us. Let us read them. And somebody is still asking questions. Yes. And those who are very close to the Gnani, they are the ones who really get the worst results, because those who are around me, those who are close to the Gnani can attain it in both ways. They can attain a lot of the self, but when they enter into comparison, or when they have expectations from the Gnani, when they have their pride, hunger, mind, then he is into the loss. You see, so if two people come to have their problems, and then one person says, "You tell him that to do not to do this," then and then if I do that, then of course I am partial to one, and therefore now the two, so now they drag me into the fight, right? And if you do not understand my mistakes, who can understand my problems, right? You already have been given the medicine to be free from your pain. Then if you solve, you take the medicine, you will become free. Why do you drag me into this problem between the two of you? Says the Gnani Deepakbhai. And he says, and is by calling the other person, by complaining about the other person, the complainer is always at fault. You see, so it is your own intellect that is causing you problems. You see, the fault is of the sufferer. He says, I do not want to hear anything about the Gnan. Why do you not do something so this worldly interaction will improve? Sooner or later, one will have to look at his own mistakes, would he not? Okay, so do you think the world is going to lift you up? No, you yourself will have to do some purusharth where you stop this nonsense of complaining about people who are working. And now this material is with reference to the people who are very close to the Gnani, which is these Aptaputras and Aptaputris fighting, having such fights amongst themselves of one kind or the other. Deepak Bhai is giving value to that. So when you compare each other, when you involve the Gnani, then you are in trouble, you see. Yes, if you want to do Dada's work, then I am 100%, I will facilitate it for you. But I never think about my own comforts in that. But when you talk about your own personal stuff, you see, that is a different matter altogether. But you see, but when your own illusory attachment is, and your own hunger is not being fed, then your intellect comes into operation, and then you come complaining to the Gnani, that is not going to work. I do not want to be compared with Niruma. Niruma is so special to me, and Niruma is doing this. When Niruma was positive towards somebody and not positive, it happened to me. I wanted into comparison, but then I was deeply repentant on it. Why did I see Niruma's mistakes? And yes, initially it bothered me that Niruma was paying more attention to some Aptaputra compared to me, but then I saw my own mistakes, and therefore I came out of it. You see, because Niruma was taking care of a whole bunch of Aptaputras, including me. You see, then it never arose within me. But I solved it through my own way, within me only. I never saw faults of Niruma. And you see, I wanted everyone. And if the intellect shows me one mistake, then I will say, let all of them come ahead. Let all of them arise, brother, you see. We need to find this. Let every Mahatma rise in the eyes of the Gnani. Let every Mahatmas get the best from the Gnani. If he's ahead of me, let him get it, you see. There is nothing wrong with it. That's beautiful. That is the way it should be. Now let us move forward. We still haven't finished this paragraph. There is, so in fact we have not finished it, and we are now into entering into break, and we have a beautiful darshan of our lovely Niruma with her compassionate eyes there. That is our Niruma. Our highest namaskars to Niruma. As we give you again the 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 playful image of Niruma, the loving, ever loving Niruma there. And so now this is a break. I will save this and enter into another one. Thank you very much. Jai Sachidanand Shuddhatma Bhagavan, everyone. So this has been